How is it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Garage Build Baits. I am your host, Wyatt Byer of Byer Lure Co. And oh my god, it has been a second since I've sat in front of this microphone, sat in front of this computer, and just busted out a podcast episode. I have been just busy. I'm sure y'all can relate. We all have our own personal lives. We have work, family, whatever, trying to have a life outside of work. And if you're a fishing freak, you try to get out there and go fishing. And if you have fishing related hobbies, those take up a lot of time too. And speaking of fishing related hobbies, we are going to be talking about bait painting today. Now, am I the foremost expert on bait painting? Hell no. Oh my god, there's so many better painters out there. I'm gonna just rattling off a couple off my head. Piz Baits. He was a painter before he started making swim baits. And if you get a Piz Pit painted Hinkle trout, you are getting that's basically gold to some people. B&A Custom Lures, that's another one. Jen Cravasi, she paints bullshad swim baits, and then she also does custom painting as well. And then you got Colorado Custom Lures and just a whole slew of other fin baits. He paints some really cool stuff. And when he repaints, Working Class Zero, Tyrants, Citizens, Battle Shads, and then he also he also repaints a lot of punkers, Black Dog punkers. And then what else does he do? He has a really fantastic trout pattern that I'm just in love with. He does such good work. When he repaints HUDs and stuff like that, that is just immaculate. But let's just flip and dive into it. I don't even know what episode this is. I think this is episode 8. And like I said, we're talking about lure painting, how I got started into it. It kind of started as me wanting to have more professional lure finishes on the lures that I've built. Because I was doing I was starting out, and it was rattle can spray paint, which nothing wrong with that. Look at Caesar from Toxic Baits. He does rattle can spray jobs, and they look awesome. And then also tried doing, nail polish, things like that, and then clear coating with just rattle can finishes or nail polish clear coat. And that can work, and it can hold up, especially if you have if you made a wood bait and you have that sealed. Yeah, that'll do fine. My OG rat wake bait that I made, it's made out of basswood, and that has held up really good when it was nail polish and just a nail polish clear coat. And I've caught some fish on it, has some hook rash, but still going strong. I've resealed it, repainted it, got an even better clear coat on it. So heck yeah, man. Heck yeah, nice, man. Alright, so I have this broken down into different categories, just so I can try to keep myself on track. If I do not keep myself on track with this, I'm just going to go off on different tangents and stuff like that, and it's going to be, a super long episode of me just rambling. And maybe you guys like that, maybe you don't. I don't know. I don't have a huge audience for this yet. So how I got started, like I said, I wanted more professional finishes on my fishing lures. So I was against the idea for a long time of getting an airbrush and things like that. And eventually I was I can't do it anymore. If I want to step it up and step up the professional quality of the baits that I make, I'm I got to get into airbrushing or, figure something out, because I even tried painting with the paintbrush and doing acrylic paint and stuff like that, and that was all right, and it turned out fine, but I was just this still isn't where I want it to be. And you just get such good coverage with an airbrush, and you get it's just a way better like just a ton better. Even when you're starting out and you do just like simple stuff, or you're experimenting with stuff, you're just like, yeah, this is so much better than trying to just slap something together if you're painting with a brush, or you're painting with nail polish or a rattle can. Not that a rattle can, like I said, not that a rattle can can't be a good paint job, but you're gonna have to like really work at it. So let's get going. Like, what's my setup? So I don't have anything too crazy really. My airbrush is just it's a $60 airbrush kit that I got off of Amazon. I don't even remember what it's called at this point, and it's like, for what it is, it's a pretty decent airbrush. I definitely want to upgrade. I'm thinking of getting like an Iwata, or something like that, something a little more higher end, just so I can have a little bit more control of spraying and things like that. Like, I'm really looking forward to getting a new airbrush here in the future. And then I got a 2-gallon Menards brand, which I think is like the tool shop brand at Menards, air compressor. And that's like a pretty nice air compressor. I just run it until the tank fills, and then I'll shut it off, and I'll set my PSI, and we'll airbrush that way until the tank starts running low. I'll flip it back on again and keep airbrushing, just like that. But I would suggest when you're going in to get an air compressor and you already have a airbrush hose and things like that, bring in that airbrush hose so you can get the right couplings and things like that to hook into your air compressor, or else you're gonna be struggling. And the people at these hardware stores or wherever you're buying this, I would suggest going into a hardware store just so people can like help you. That's what I did, and that was a huge help. Now, granted, I was back and forth a lot of the time between like different areas of the store where they had different things that I needed, but it worked out well, because like the airbrush kit that I got had a little like electric compressor with it that just constantly ran, and then you'd have to let it rest for like 30 minutes for it to like cool down, or else you'd like overheat it. So that came with the airbrush kit that I bought, and eventually that wore out because it's not very expensive. So I would honestly suggest getting an air compressor and getting a like pretty halfway decent airbrush to start, and just kind of forego getting a kit. This has worked out for me though, so whatever will work best for you, especially if you don't want to get into it like super expensive, maybe try taking a look at Amazon. But eventually just know that you probably will be upgrading all of that stuff, so just keep that in mind. And then with like the downfall of like buying cheap stuff is you got to compensate in other ways to make things look good. And so that's something that I've learned as well. So as far as paints go, and Marlon Bates has said this too, he likes the US Art Supply airbrush paint, and I just get that off of Amazon. You can get it for a pretty affordable price. It's like already good to go. You don't have to really thin it out unless you know how your painting calls for you to thin out the airbrush paint. But it's already good to go. It sprays out of your airbrush really nice. They have good colors, a lot of variety of colors, and it's pretty affordable. So initially I bought just a cheaper like airbrush paint set, and then I got this US Art Supply one, and I like the US Art Supply one like a lot better. And a little bit just goes a long way with lure painting too. You don't have to fill up your little cup at all. You can just put a couple drops in and you're good to go. And you can put a little extender in there as well, like a little airbrush paint extender, or thinner, and that'll help your paint go even further. Because one of the issues that I was having with some of the first paint that I got is I would have to like thin it out quite a bit. So, but with this U.S. Art Supply airbrush paint, it's an acrylic based paint, and I don't know, it just works really well. And it's very affordable compared to like a lot of the, I would say, higher end airbrush paint that people get. Like you can get, I think it's like a lacquer or whatever base paint. I know Brown Bait Co. likes that stuff for the coverage and everything. I think it's a little tougher to work with, but the results are like really nice. He has like some really nice paint, and I know a lot of people use like the Wicked paint, and Marlon Bates even uses the Wicked paint as well. And that stuff is definitely like higher end, so you could buy that and just build up a collection. But I would suggest, like, especially if you're not quite sure and you want to practice and get better, I would say go into something a little more affordable. So definitely look into that U.S. Art Supply airbrush paint. I think it's like pretty good stuff. And then, as well as online, you can buy stencils for different fish patterns. You can like do like get different craw patterns, different fish patterns. You can get stencils that'll do the the lateral lines for like a baby bass pattern. You can get stencils for like the little kill dots on like different shad patterns, and so on and so forth. You can get some really like wicked patterns out there. There's like more expensive stencils that are like 3D printed and like go right over a lure blank. And then there's just like flat stencils that you put over, you airbrush over, and they can be, fire tiger or stripes or whatever, crawdad stripes, things of that nature. But one thing that I've found that I've really liked is making my own stencils. And one way I've done that is going to like a dollar store or Walmart and then getting those plastic folders in the school supply section. And you get those plastic folders and you can use a razor blade and make your own stencils. You can make your own stripes. You can make crawfish, different patterns, sunfish patterns, things like that, the kill dots, whatever, and so forth. It's like a little more of an involved process, but it's like an affordable way to do it, and you get something that's unique to you. You can create your own style of stuff versus, other people might have, this like buy stencils and you have the same stencils as somebody else. So this kind of gives you a little more uniqueness. So that would be one of my other tips, like getting into it, just to make it more affordable for yourself. So besides safety, we'll get into safety a little bit later, but besides safety, I would say the biggest thing when you're starting is cleaning your airbrush. That is like probably the number one thing that you can do. If you don't have a clean airbrush, you're just going to get clogged up, like your nozzle and your needle are going to get clogged up, and your paint's not going to shoot right, and your bait's not going to turn out right. I would say just have the cleanest airbrush that you can. That's where it comes in handy to have, it's handy to do just the like little amounts that you need, and then also to have a couple cleaning supplies on hand. So paper towels or a rag, and then there is airbrush cleaner. Tends to be a little spendy. I like using isopropyl alcohol or denatured alcohol. I feel like it works very well. It clears out my nozzle, and then I also like having a little bit of like people use distilled water. I like shooting water through my airbrush before I start. I'll usually start with some isopropyl alcohol. I'll cover the nozzle and shoot some air, and that'll cause back pressure and like clear some stuff out of your nozzle and things like that. Kind of clear your needle off. But I would say at the beginning of each spray session, just take apart your airbrush, run some alcohol or some cleaner onto a rag or a paper towel, and just like clean your needle, get your nozzle cleaned out, make sure your little paint cup is cleaned out on the airbrush, things like that, because that's just going to make your life a ton easier. So you can just, it's doing the little things to help you to make your life easier. So like if you take the time to like really clean your airbrush at the end of a session, that way the next session you can go into it and you have a clean airbrush and you don't have to worry about, oh, I already put paint in my cup and now it's like not shooting out because my nozzle's clogged. So you can avoid a lot of that headache and frustration by just having a clean airbrush at all time. And so let me just get into this right now, is safety. So like safety is not something like you're really going to think about when you think of painting, but when you're working with something where you're shooting atomized paint into the air, you want good ventilation. And then working with like clear coating stuff afterwards, you want good ventilation and and things of that nature. So some people have booths set up to where they can spray and then that air is circulated and goes out and they don't have to worry about it. But if you don't have like a ton of space or a ton of resources to do something like that, not everybody has a garage, not everybody has a workspace where they can make something like that, make a paint studio, make a paint booth. Because I just airbrush at my like little work desk that I have in my like quote unquote office. And so when I'm painting, I usually have a fan going, like kind of around my area to circulate air through. But then I'm also wearing a respirator and, not breathing in that atomized paint, because I want to live as long as a life as I can. And so I don't want to like be breathing in some of those chemicals, that atomized paint, like that can't be good for you at all. And I know Brown Bako, he says the same thing. You gotta worry about your health and your safety. It's not something you think about, but hey, you might as well be as safe as you can. And if you want to take it a step further and wear safety glasses, by all means do that, because you never know what can happen, and you don't want something splashing into your face or your eyeball, things like that. You want to protect your eyes, you want to protect your lungs and your breathing. So I would say just keep that in mind. You can always go somewhere like Amazon or Harbor Freight if you don't have a big budget to buy, something. My respirator is from Harbor Freight, and for a while I didn't use one. And I'm like, well, if I'm gonna paint volume of stuff, I'm gonna paint a lot of stuff at a time, I should have that, because before I was just kind of wearing like, those cheap little dust mask that you'd wear if you were like working in an attic or if you were mowing a lawn or something like that. So I would say just go ahead, invest in a respirator right away, just so you can protect yourself, protect your health. You can be around for a long time with your loved ones. And then going into the next section, I would say one of the places where I've bought the most blanks would be Amazon. just because, and I definitely read the reviews a lot because I feel like those blanks can be really hit and miss. And I've had like blanks be really hit and miss on there as well, like seams cracking, stuff like that. Usually I'll have to sand down seams a little more, do a little more prep to them. I know a lot of people, when a lot of like the really big time painters that do volume and have been doing this for a while and know what they're doing, we'll go through every bait, check them, check the seams, things like that. Sometimes with those, with that plastic, with that being like an ABS injected bait, you'll have like flashing, like how you would with like soft plastics. If you're shooting plastics or, doing an open pour mold, you'll have some flashing. And so sanding those off with a fine grit sandpaper and making sure everything's sealed on the bait, and just going through every single one of them. So you might order like you might order some lure blanks and it comes in a pack of 25. So literally going through every single one of those and checking them is, I would say, essential. It's going to save you some headache in the long run just by slowing down, doing things the right way. And then, like I said, like big time painters, they will wash every single bait after that. Like wash it with soap and water, or go through with some rubbing alcohol and clean the baits off and wipe them down, making sure there's nothing on them that will cause your paint to peel off, because anything can happen, like to make your paint not adhere to a bait. It could be oil and the natural oils and stuff from your hand. It could be oil and debris from the factories where these were made and things like that. So you want to save yourself some headache in the long run just by taking some extra steps to like prep your baits before paint. Make sure they're all sanded nice, clean them, going through and taping off bills, taping off, this, that, and the other. That's going to save you a lot of headache in the long run. Oh, going back to supplies you'll need some glue to glue in eyeballs. And you can order eyeballs off of Amazon as well. A lot of times those kits on Amazon will come with like eyeballs for the baits. So that's kind of convenient, but so they're like stick-on eyeballs, but you're going to have to super glue them on, because just like a little dab of super glue, because you don't want to trust that to, hold on to your bait. And then one other place that I really liked ordering blanks from online was through Sugar Tits Custom Lures. I believe that's what they're called. Let me double check here. Yeah, okay, so Sugar Tit Custom Lures, and it's at Sugar Tit because they are located in Sugar Tit, South Carolina. What just a flippin' what I'm gonna say, what a unique name. I think that I don't know, it just makes me giggle when you order a bunch of baits from them. You get their logo sticker and it says Sugar Tit Custom Lures, and I don't know, makes me chuckle. I'm immature, whatever, but I really enjoyed ordering from them. They have good blanks. I think they got like some pretty good quality blanks for affordable prices. So I bought quite a, I don't know, it was like a $50 order, $50 or $60 order from them. Probably should order some more stuff. I don't know. But those are a couple places that I'd recommend. With Amazon, like I said, take it with a grain of salt. Like, look through the reviews. It's a good place to start, though. And while we're on the conversation of blanks, let me just go through. I I'm on Sugar Tits website right now. And I'm going to be honest, I bought some, like, a lot of these blanks are going to be knockoffs of other lures. So you'll get, like, Vision 110 knockoffs, you'll get Spro Rock Crawler knockoffs, you can get, knockoffs of wiggle warts, things like that. And I would say that I personally feel like that's okay for, conventional stuff. But when you start going into swim baits, one, I don't think those swim baits are going to be as great as other stuff. But you go in, and I'm on Sugar Tits website right now, and you have, like, in one of the first one that pops up is a throwback Wake Walker knockoff. And some of these places that sell lure blanks don't even hide that that's what it's knocking off. There's a Sabile knockoff. There's a Jointed Claw knockoff. Another Wake Walker knockoff. Some Mega Bass knockoffs. Things like that. Like Mega Bass swim bait knockoffs. So I would say Storm Arashi Glide knockoffs, Mega Bass High Slide knockoff. There's more. Depths Bass knockoff. Like the depths bait that looks like a bass. Jackal Gantarelle knockoffs. Just this one looks like I would say one of these looked like a Buka Baits knockoff, and like, yeah, that's fine, whatever. So you're gonna pay for. Let's go back here, because I'm gonna get into the kind of ethics right here. So this throwback Wake Walker. Well, one, it's smaller than a Wake Walker. I would say it's more of the size of like their cheat code. But so even it's 5-inch swim bait. It says 5-inch swim bait. I know other websites don't sugarcoat it. They're like, this is a throwback Wake Walker knockoff. And yeah, it is what it is. It's a throwback knockoff. There was a lot of controversy in the swim bait community with this, and it comes down to the ethics of it. So sure, you spend $7 on this knockoff versus you're gonna pay $99 for a throwback cheat code, or you're gonna pay $150+ for a throwback Wake Walker. That's a pretty hefty price to pay for those baits, but you gotta look at it like this. These are handmade custom baits where everything's made by hand. The resin is poured by hand, that hardware is put in, these baits are painted and clear coated, and there's such an involved process. And how I see it, and I've said this before, I see it if I buy a knockoff lure blank, especially from a small builder like Throwback Baits, and they're local too. They're in Minnesota, they're local to me, Midwest. Like, if I bought a throwback knockoff, I would feel like I am taking I am taking like food off of his kid's table. Kyle from Throwback, the owner, he has like 5 kids or something like that, whatever it is. I don't, I don't know. Super cool dude though. And like I feel like I'm taking food off of his table by being a cheap ass. Like you can, like his Wake Walker blanks are available when he does drops. So I would say maybe just wait for a blank, dude. That's gonna be your best bet, and then you're gonna have a throwback bait painted by you. So I would say, like ethically, I don't think it's right to buy a knockoff blank, and I don't think it's right to like buy like a knockoff in general. Like if because somebody could take like a working class citizen, make a silicone mold of that, and go around, start pouring plastisol and sell those. Like, ethically, that's not right either. Like, I would feel pretty icky about myself if I did that. Now, like, am I okay with like these other blanks, like Vision 110 knockoff, like conventional stuff? Yeah, I'm okay with that because they're generic enough. There's enough of that stuff out there. There's enough conventional stuff out there where it's all kind of looking the same at this point. There's not a ton of ingenuity, I feel, right now. Because, you know, a lot of these jerkbaits are going to look the same. A lot of these deep diving crankbaits are going to look the same. There's only so many ways you can make a spook style bait. Those are going to look the same. At this point, there's even a lot of the chopper style baits, like the river to sea. What are they called? Oh, Whopper Plopper, like the river to sea Whopper Plopper, because then you got the Berkeley Chapo. You even got the Guggen Baits Revolver. You got different stuff like that. Ozark Trail, like the Walmart brand, has their own like fishing stuff at this point. They have frogs and jerk baits and chopper style baits, you know, like that Whopper Plopper. So I would say like conventional stuff, I feel like it's more okay, versus small handmade baits getting knocked off is not okay. But you know, like I said, kind of went on like a little bit of a tangent, but my last point here is just have fun with it. Make it your own. Like with making your own stencils, like not every one of them is going to turn out great. Not everyone's going to be a winner. Like not every stencil is going to be, you know, like super cool or anything like that, but I would say just have fun with it because we're in this, we're fishing because it's fun. We're in this because like it adds to the hobby of fishing. Like it adds like a different element of it. And so you go through and you have this bait that you painted and spent time on, and you go out and you catch a fish on it. Hell yeah, dude, that's fucking cool. Like there's no reason that like people can't do that. Heck, so even if you don't start off with an airbrush and you buy some lure blanks and you like paint them by hand or you do marker or whatever, well, be careful with marker because your clear coat can react to that differently. But you paint up some baits and you like catch a fish on it. Hell yeah, dude. That's fucking awesome. Oh shit, I gotta go back. I gotta talk about like clear coats, man. So clear coats, this is something that I kind of struggled with until I, reached out and was talking to different people, watching different videos. So like Jen Kravasi, Jackal Baits, Bullshat Baits. She uses I think it's called KBS. It's an automotive clear coat. Definitely go check out her video. That's like a good resource. But another bait painter like put me onto that. Like one of the guys that I met on Swim Bait Universe. he painted a bait for me, and I was like, hey, what clear coat are you using? He's like, I use this. And he's like, I just use it as like a dip. So I've been using this KBS clear coat, and it's really easy just to like dip, your conventional stuff. For swim baits, like I did that 6 cents draw, that's a 9-inch swim bait. So I taped off the tail. Gotta be really cognizant of that bait, and other baits have rotating hook hangers like that are on a swivel. So you want to make sure you don't get any clear coat in there, because that'll like mess up the bait a little bit, because then you won't have that rotating hook hanger, which is important to like for fish not to get like too much leverage on your bait and throw it, especially with big baits that weigh a lot. So they can throw that bait a lot easier. But that's something that I like to use a lot. I know, you watch Marlon Bates, he does a lot of different methods. So will do like the UV, what is it called? Oh, he'll do like the epoxy, like UV resin, and that works really well. But then you have to have like, you can go outside and like your bait will like cure, or you'll have to like get a UV blacklight flashlight, or you can make a little UV light box to like clear baits. But I think that just kind of like adds a level of difficulty versus KBS stuff is like really good. I haven't had any issues with it. You can even double dip on it once you have the first like coat all dry. You just like dip it and then hang it up, and you put a little piece of paper clip on the back to help that clear coat kind of drip off, and it just drip dries. Like drip dries, air dries kind of a thing, kind of like what you would if you're sealing your bait with like polyurethane, stuff like that. And that's been working really well for me. Before that, what was working really well for me as well was doing 30-minute epoxy. And so that's a little bit more of involved a process too, because you got to have your mix ratios right. You're paint brushing it on. One of the things that I did is, since I also build fishing rods from Mudhole Tackle, I have a rod turner that cures epoxy on your guides, and I've used that for drying my baits with 30-minute epoxy, and I let that spin for like 24 hours. Like I rigged it up to where there's like a dowel that goes in there, and it has two sides, as opposite sides sanded flat, so that way your bills just sit flush on there, and then I come with a clamp. And that's worked really well, and that 30-minute epoxy is super hard. Like, you're not going to have any issues with that whatsoever. So, I feel like with homemade baits, I might do that route a little bit more with that 30-minute epoxy. But then with like more conventional lures or like ABS swim baits, stuff like that, I think I'm gonna go with more of a that KBS clear coat. I freaking love that stuff. That stuff is so good. It is pricey though. I will say that it is kind of expensive, but like you get a lot of use out of it. Like I've dipped quite a bit of baits, and I'm starting to get low, but I've also like just painted on a bunch of that clear coat, onto a 9-inch swim bait. So it's a lot of clear coat. But anyway, like with you guys, if you want to, getting into lure painting, that opens the door for you to do like so much other stuff. You can get like beat up baits and refurbish them, and repaint them. I love doing that. I love repainting stuff like that, breathing new life into it. You can get into like painting swim baits. Like I got a number of swim baits that I have to paint right now, and like I just got a backlog of baits that I want to get painted, and just haven't had the time to like sit down and do that. But it's so cool, man. Like you could just go ahead and just have fun with it, and you can make something your own where no one else is going to have anything like that, and you're going to have like the time of your life doing it, basically. Like I love painting. It's so much fun, and when you go out and you catch fish on like a bait that you paint, there's nothing better than that. The only thing better than that would be like banana bread at work. Fuck yeah, dude. Get some banana bread at work. But anyway, this was like a cool podcast episode to film. Like I said, I haven't been doing this in like a hot second, but it's good just to sit down at the desk again, record this podcast episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you think, and we will catch you for the next one. Hopefully, side tangent. Hopefully, we could get some guests soon. Shit, I was gonna have Trevor Spice Cat Fish. He was supposed to be on like, feels like months ago now that I asked him. Probably was months ago that I asked him. But like, I gotta get this camera situation figured out. I got a webcam, just need to get it up and going. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed, and we will catch you for the next one.